What's up, my beautiful? That shit's amazing. I love letting that shit start out like that. Really, so put that shit right back up, right back up, and right back up. There we go. What's up, my beautiful people? So I know it's been like 2 days since I recorded one of these. Your boy's been busy moving around, working, trying to network, because network isn't something that I ever really used to do in the past. I just used to sit back and observe. Now I'm trying to be like, what's up? Like a part of this shit, like what's up? Because you know, your boy trying to go places, and I can't go places just sitting in my fucking house, and it is what it is. It's all good to get my alone time. I love my alone time. I love my alone time because it allows me to sit and absorb everything and then create as I need and just help me center myself. I've been practicing meditation and spirituality since I would say about 2016. I started practicing that shit heavily. Got me interested into learning more about it heavily. And then since then, it's been off and on. I feel like 2018 was the most I ever really dove into spirituality, because I got like a book about the chakras, and I started learning more about crystals. And so then from there, there's been like a couple events in my life that would throw me away and put me in a depressed state, but I always gravitate back to that because it calms me. It helps me make more sense of everything. So I appreciate my past self for actually bringing that shit into my life. And I have no idea what type of person I'd be if I actually did not find that shit. I'd probably be out here in jail or have killed somebody. Like like literally, I was doing a whole bunch of fucked up shit, and it was on a path to be very, very, very fucked up. Like nobody is actually gonna want to fuck with me. My own family, like I wouldn't be able to make new friends, like actual real connections. And I'm glad I didn't like continue to go down that path. And I had to be inside because I kind of got here, talked to my family a little bit before actually doing anything. You know, by the time I sit down and record this video, it is now dark outside because the sun's setting at like 4:50. It's 5:17. It's fine. Sorry about that shit. You know, it's my parents' house. Of course, I can't do anything with them just walking up. I had my door wide open too. I couldn't close my door. I just had my door wide open. I wasn't prepared. But like I was saying, I usually would do these shits outside because I love being outside. I'm about to go out there after this shit. But it's like, I want to get this shit done because it's been, you know, I've been 2 days away from doing this shit. And the other times I did this, it really helped me. I went back and I've watched those videos a couple times. And I'm just like, yeah, keep doing that for sure. But I don't think there's really ever a topic or anything. It's just me talking. But yeah, I'm really glad I found spirituality. I've also loved psychedelics too, like acid and mushrooms have helped me cope with being myself, really. Cope with and understand how my mind works, and understand that like if I'm not using my power, which I'm not using my power for my benefit, then I'm using that shit against myself. No matter how I want to look at that shit, I'm using it against myself. If I don't take control of my life and of my mind, it's just in turn just gonna fuck my life up. And I can let it fuck my life up, or I can say, nah, this is my life and this is mine. I'm gonna do what I want to do. That's what I've been trying to do more, is just do what I want to do. Stay away from worrying about what other people want me to be, because then I start to feel like I'm schizophrenic, and I don't like feeling like I'm schizophrenic, dog. But yeah, I would say the most life-changing experience I've ever had with psychedelics. I took some acid. This is February, I believe February last year. I was still in school, going to school for cybersecurity at the time. So my goal at the time, I was just trying to knock that shit out, and it's like a 2-year course, and then, you know, start working just that fucking cybersecurity job, making whatever, because it's like a good little paycheck for sure, and it still is an expanding field. But you know, I know now that's not really what I want to do. I want to help people, and I don't really know why. I was literally doing that just for stability purposes and insurance purposes. Shit, it wasn't even insurance purposes, because I wasn't going to school fucking full time. I was just going like part time, taking a couple classes in the morning because I was working, and my schedule at that time was like late nights. I would go in to work at like 7, get out like 2 in the morning, 2, 3. Sometime in the morning. I was very nocturnal. So one day I got off of work, Came home. I'm like, I want a trip. I think I took one tab. I'm pretty sure I took one tab. There's some really good LSD. Of course, if you practice psychedelics, always test your shit. Always test your shit with like test kits. Not like, oh, I'm gonna test this, see what this. Test your shit, because people will be out here fucking people over. And you know, you want real LSD. You want real LSD, because that shit is a beautiful thing. Shit terrifies my ego, and I know if I'm ever scared to trip, it's because I'm looking at it from the perspective of my ego. That shit terrifies my ego, because it literally takes my ego, just grab my fucking ego like you some bitch, and start beating this shit's ass, bro, until that bitch just dies. So this was the first time, because before that year, I had never really tripped by myself. I just tripped with my friends, basically. It has always been, well, like, I'm a trip with my friends. I had done a couple solo trips beginning of that year, like January or so. Maybe, I think I did one solo trip by myself, and then I started to like microdose on like a regular basis. That shit's very beautiful. I'm microdose now on like a regular basis, either my fucking LSD or my psilocybin. Either way, it helps me a lot. I'd much rather do that than go to a therapist and them give me some prescription medication that doesn't do what this does for me. I feel like this actually helps my brain work for itself, instead of it taking and have to work off of this drug, and the drug having other side effects on my body as well. So I just make sure I'm responsible with that shit, and I make sure, like I said, I look at it from my perspective, not from other people's perspective, because I know if I'm overindulging, and I know how it helps me, you know, and if I could try to explain that shit to people, I can, but you know, they still have their own perspective about that shit. So just look at things from my perspective. When I start looking at it from like you, and like my thoughts are like you and not I, then that's when I'm being fucking schizophrenic. I feel like every fucking human being is schizophrenic, though. You can find me on it. But that's just that's every human being is schizophrenic. But see, I'm getting off track. But this is a beautiful trip. I like talking about it and reminding myself of this, because it's the first time I ever really made sense of it. So I took these tabs. My intention was to align. What the fuck was my intention at this time? Oh, ego death. That's what I was like. I was like, yes, ego death. I want that. I want ego death, right? Because like, I don't know. Like, that's what I've done a lot of research about this shit, and I thought I understood. But that shit was a whole fucking experience. That was a whole journey. So I took this tab at 4:06 a.m. I remember that shit. I have a song called 4:06 a.m. because of this trip. Beautiful song. I'm gonna link that shit actually in the description. I said subscription. Actually in the description. So you gotta check that out. It's a really nice song. This whole thing actually inspired a whole string of songs, a whole new me, a whole idea of creating things. So I took my shower. I got dressed, and I was like, I'm about to sit out back. I'm gonna smoke this bowl. I just found this thing called 8D audio. So what that is like, if you don't know, so if you put this in your headphones, it kind of has a sound move around. Like, it's 8-dimensional audio, I guess is what it is. This shit's bothering me. I gotta move this shit real quick. It's all wrapped up. But yeah, so I found that shit. I was like, I'm gonna put this shit in my headphones, man, for real. Let me listen to this. So I put on some X. I forget what song, but I put on this shit, and I was hitting this bowl, and I was sitting outside. As I was sitting out there, I started to get this shit in my stomach, man. Like, I started to get this weird feeling in my stomach, and it wouldn't go away. So I'm just like, what is that feeling? So I put the shit down. I still have the music playing. I try to concentrate on it, right? I finally lock into it, and I'm like, okay. When I locked onto it, I was like, okay, I gotta take my headphones off. I'm gonna sit down, and I'm gonna just meditate and figure out what the fuck this shit is. So I did that. I'm sitting down for a little bit, and I'm meditating. I hold on to this feeling. Eventually gets to the point where I don't want to sit up anymore. So I just lay down, and I just look up at the at the fucking ceiling, that's the word. So I was looking up at the ceiling. I had my eyes closed before I was looking at my ceiling. Sometimes I go out of order with things, but so once I found this feeling, I started getting encapsulated by fear, like fucking extreme mass paranoia, like extremely terrified. And I just shot up. I was just like, oh, what the fuck was that? And like, that shit sent me into a very manic state for a second. I was pacing in the backyard right there. Like, yo, what the fuck was that? I'm looking out, trying to figure out if there's something in my backyard because I feel a presence that's not fucking me. And it's terrifying me. And I'm just like, yo, what the fuck is that? Yo, what the fuck? And I sit there and I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I go into my house. As I close the door, I catch my eyes in the reflection in front of me, and I'm in the back of my head. There was a thought. It was like, that's you. And then I'm just like, that's not fucking me. And I go into my room. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And I'm sitting in my room pacing, like, yo, what the fuck is that shit? Because I'm still scared, and I have to sit down and like make myself listen to some music. So bounced around between different things, and I ended up landing at The Man on the Moon, Kid Cudi. I put that shit on, and it was like I was listening to my thoughts from somebody else, and like I was like, man, I really love this shit. But the whole fucking time, this feeling in my stomach has not gone away. It's just, I distance myself from it, right? That shit's still there, and I just distance myself from it. Eventually, that distance is gonna close, and it started to close, and I started to remember that shit. Like, yo, what the fuck is that? And it got to a point, it was like, there was something that just kept putting a thought in my head, just let go. Like, just let go. Because I had been dealing with, like, a whole lot, like, like I said, very depressed. I just came back to this house from living with my ex, and there's a whole lot of things I didn't want to let go, and just a whole lot in my head just going on. So this shit helped, really brought me some clarity for real. It was a whole fucking ordeal getting through it, but at the end, it was the most beautiful thing ever. So I'm sitting here like, let go. Like, what the fuck do you mean let go? And then it got made very apparent that if I let go, then I'm not coming back. Like, this is what death is. Like, I'm like, what? You're telling me to let go? You're telling me to let go of this? Like, this is fucking everything. This is everything that I know. So if I let go, then what the fuck is gonna, like, what? If I'm gone, what's gonna be here? And it's just like, let go. Like, you can either let go, or you can feel like shit for the rest of your life. Those are the two options that I was given with. I sat there in that for a little bit. Sat there and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? These are, so either I die or I just stay like this forever. So eventually, of course, it's not that hard of a decision. It's just literally like, let go. So eventually, I'm like, all right, I guess, like, I don't want to feel like this. I guess I'm just gonna leave. So I sit here, I just close my eyes in my chair, and I do my best to let go, and I feel something just lift off of me. Where I just basically fell in my chair like this for a little bit, and I just felt just a huge weight lifted off completely. I then proceeded to open my eyes, and I looked around, and I'm in my room still. I haven't left. I'm looking around like, yo, where the fuck am I? Where the fuck am I? And I'm trying, like, yo, because, of course, there's something in my head is kind of telling me this is what it is, but at the same time, I'm looking around and I don't know what's going on. I stand up because I realize what the fuck happened. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, what the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my gosh. I'm like, he died. That's all I can say. I was like, fuck, he died. Like he died. Like, it was a bad thing at first. And I'm like, fuck, he died. Oh my fucking God, he just died. Like, he just died. What the fuck? And I was trying to make sense of that, because I was like, that, what? He died? Like, what does that? And then, like, as I'm pacing around in my room, listening to, I don't know if the music was playing at that point. I just know that he died at that point completely. And then I hear a knock on my door, and it was my mom. She was like, asking me if my dog was in there, because at the time she didn't really fuck with the dog. The only reason I even have a dog now is because I moved out. I got the dog at the place that I lived at. I came back, right? First, I didn't even get to have that dog here. Eventually, it was like some bullshit going on with the person I was keeping her. It was like, come get this dog. I killed this dog. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm not even gonna say anything. I'm about to go get my fucking dog. So, she was just seeing if she was in here. I had my door closed. I was like, yeah. And she was like, why? And I was like, because I want her in here. And she just walked away. She didn't even open the door. But that made me realize who Jabril was. At that point, I realized who Jabril was. And I was like, oh, fuck. So then I went outside, left my dog and shit in there. Then I went outside. This time the sun was like up. It was been nighttime. Remember, I did this shit at 4:06 a.m. It's been nighttime. So I go outside, and it was the biggest clarity ever. It was like there were so many walls in my fucking head to where reality actually is. And there was all that shit was just fucking gone. There was like all those walls were just gone, and I was just in fucking reality for the first time. And I just saw how beautiful everything fucking is. If we just let that shit be. How beautiful life is if we really just let that shit be. So I'm looking up at the sky, and just all these, it's just a fucking mass of fucking knowledge, I guess. That's all I can say. It's just a mass of knowledge. It's not something that can come back after that shit, but it's something that I will forever be aware of, because I know that language and shit that we speak, there's not words for everything. Words only mean shit because we agree on that's what the fuck it means. But there's shit that we experience that we cannot explain because language is off of symbolism, and there's not really, of course we can do our best to explain this shit, but there's some things just we have to leave it at that. There's some things beyond our comprehension. So I'm in this shit, and I have the most genuine smile on my face that I've ever had in my life. Like, I'm genuinely fucking happy for no fucking reason. And I'm just like, oh man, that's how it is? Is that really how it is? And I'm like, yeah, I can be anything I want to be. So then at this trip left me with this mantra that I tell myself, that I try to keep this with me because it reminds me. So it starts out as I can be anything I want to be. I can be anything I want to be, and I'm me. I can be anything I want to be, and I'm happy. I can be anything I want to be, and I'm loved. I can be anything I want to be, and I'm an artist. I can be anything I want to be, and I'm beautiful. You know, just anything I want to be, that's me, you know? That's who I am. I don't want to be anything I don't want to be anymore. I'm not worried about what anybody's thinking about me, or I'm trying to be what they want me to be. Nah, I'm just me, you know? I'm just me, and I'm happy. Let me fucking do me. So I'm in my backyard still, and I just felt this urge to leave. But then I went to step, and I felt something, which was fear. And I was like, because my ego just liked to fucking stay here. My ego did not, you know, want to deal with the fucking world. My ego was a pessimistic piece of shit that just was very prideful. And that's just what it is. You know, that's what it is. Let fear guide, like, fucking block his judgment a lot of the times, man. It's a fucking absolute wacko. So I can't only identify with my ego, and I know that now. So as soon as that shit popped up, it was like something in my head just pushed it a fucking way. Like, oh, that's not actually real. That doesn't exist. So I just kept walking. And I just left my house. I just kept walking around my neighborhood. Shit, I was in house shoes, and it's cold outside. I have a small jacket on or something. You know, it's cold outside. I'm actually just warming myself because I can, because cold and warmness is all just a figment of my imagination. It is what I create. So I'm walking, and I'm realizing I'm looking at everything. I'm not just looking at everything physically. I'm actually in, like, the universe that is me. The universe that is me, I'm in that shit and realizing it's infinite. And you know, my body's just fucking walking. It's doing what the fuck it does. There's some command center or something that just does these things, and it's wild how that shit works. But I got to this intersection down here, and there was a guy with, like, his dog, and I'm sitting there, I'm talking to myself, like outside, like just out loud talking to myself. And I'm talking like maybe now I'm not mumbling, I'm actually speaking quite like fucking articulately, like I'm speaking out loud. And I'm talking about how like he died. In my head, you know, there was the ego always tries to come back in these situations. My ego kept trying to force its view of the world. Like you can't be out here doing that shit. Like people are gonna call you crazy. I'm like, what the fuck is crazy? Like what the fuck does that mean? And then it's like, yo, like maybe it's not a good idea to be out here. Like what can you actually explain to somebody if somebody comes up to you and all this shit that doesn't fucking matter? I'm like, just like, yo, all normal thing that you can say is he died, and people are gonna think you killed somebody. And I'm like, I did kill somebody. I killed my fucking self. Like what the fuck does that matter? Why would anybody even be worried about this shit unless I'm out here trying to fucking kill them? And I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just doing me right now. And there was somebody at this intersection that came kind of close by, so that ego tried to force itself even more, trying to get me to stop. And I'm realizing that's what fear is again. And like I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. I'm gonna just discard that. I'm just gonna discard that, and I'm gonna keep trying to create what the fuck I want to create throughout this shit. So what I did for the rest of the trip, and that trip turned into the rest of my life. So that trip turned into the rest of my life. I remember I was walking, I was just putting together making sense. I'm like, oh, there's no actual boxes. There's no actual boxes to anything. Like there's no limitations to anything. It is all in my mind. It really is my mind. I'm creation. I'm connected with everything and everybody. Like, why am I trying to not be? I remember I was just, talking around, fucking appreciating everything. I realized I hadn't been appreciative for just small things, just being able to actually walk around my neighborhood. There's people who fucking live in neighborhoods that they can't actually be out and do that shit. There's people who live in countries that, they can't be out and do that shit. They don't have the freedom that I have, and I take that shit for granted. Well, I was taking that shit for granted, and I was trying to tell myself, be appreciative. I was just creating the perfect me, basically. Creating the perfect me as to being connected. I remember I touched my body like for the first time, just do some weird shit by accident, and it made me like, what the fuck? Because I felt my body, and like I literally did like this, and like I slowly stopped walking, and then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, there's a body attached to what I am. And I said that shit out loud and it reverberated in my head, and I was like, yo, what the fuck does that mean? And I said again, I'm like, there's a body attached to what I am. I'm like, that's cool as shit. And I just kept fucking walking. I just kept walking. Just pieced together just the perfect me that I wanted. I didn't want to be fearful. I didn't want to be sad. I didn't want to be anything besides what I want to be. And that shit made me realize that is like it's the best trip I fucking ever had. I've had trips like that shit, but that like sparked the whole understanding of myself in psychedelics. So moral of the story is, be who the fuck you want to be. Like don't let anybody impose their worldview on you, because we're all connected. We all have our own views, our own perceptions, our own views of the world. So we have to make sure we honor ourselves with staying true to ourselves. Don't let anything really get in the way of that, because shit, there's a whole world of possibilities out there that we can accomplish. It's just out there for the taking. You just have to be one of the people willing to go take that shit. So that's me. I'm trying to go take everything that I want. I'm not gonna let anything get in the way with that. I have people that are also like that, and that's very much what I'm appreciative of, because it's hard. It is truly hard, damn near impossible in this world, in the United States, being in just the regular reality, to be focused and centered like that just by yourself, without having a group of people that are also on that same shit, because it does get very complicated and hard. Because if you're alone, it's like there's no outside reinforcement. I know, like, you have to make your trip for yourself. I have to make the trip for me, of course. But the ego is it's a very prevalent thing, unless you're fucking Buddha, like unless you're fucking just completely awakened. I think that's course, it's not impossible, but it's very much more difficult. And why not just take advantage of the people that I have in my life? That something one of my brother-in-law fucking told me. My brother-in-law, is that making my brother-in-law? Is that what that is? No, right? I don't fucking know. It's my sister's husband. I don't know what that makes him. I don't know what that makes him. But he was telling me, he was like, because it's been a couple months since we had this conversation now, but telling him how I've been, where my mindset is at, how I'm trying to elevate basically, and how I'm trying to make sure I'm there for my people more, because like I've been secluded. I haven't been letting really people in. That's just what it is. So he was telling me, because I also found like a faith in God, realizing God is real. That's a whole nother trip I'll talk about at another time. But I had found a faith in God recently before having this conversation with him, and he was just saying, yeah, like God is very, very real, and he's always there looking out for us, but he's very busy. You know, he's very busy. There's a whole lot of motherfuckers that need his help, and there's people who need his help more than I do. So what he does is he puts people in our lives to help us, to help be there whenever he's not there, but he's really everywhere all the time. But these people, we have to take advantage of them, not like take advantage of them like, oh fuck them, like we're not helping. We to make sure we're there, and we're there for our people, and that's what it is. That's our people. We're all in this together. We're in this shit together, you know? Like, how do you think God feels you not taking advantage of these people? You're taking them for granted, you know what I mean? So that shit's very beautiful. Again, make sure you take care of your people. Make sure you stay centered, stay healthy, stay beautiful. Just keep on pushing and being yourself. Much love to you all, and you guys have a great night.